You ever sit there, phone in hand, plans in mind, and just not move? Not because you're lazy, but because you feel nothing pulling you forward. You stare at the screen, check the same apps, reopen the same tabs, but your brain's not online. Not really. You're just going through the motions, hoping one of them brings you back. And the scary part? You don't even know when you disappeared. It wasn't some big collapse, no breakdown, no final straw. You just drifted, one small compromise at a time. One day of, I'll figure it out tomorrow, until tomorrow became your personality. And now, you wake up in a life you don't recognize, wearing a face that still smiles, still replies, still functions, but you aren't in it. Let me be clear, this isn't burnout. It's identity erosion. And no habit tracker or vision board will fix that. What you need isn't another strategy. It's a reset, one that reaches the version of you who actually gives a damn. This isn't about productivity. It's about memory, remembering who you were before the numbness set in. If you're still watching, that means some part of you is still alive in there. Let's go find them. Chapter 1. The Identity Collapse. You mistook for laziness. You've been calling it burnout, low motivation, maybe even depression. But that's not it. What you're feeling? It's identity collapse. You used to know what mattered. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not loudly, but you had a sense of pull, a direction, a shape to your days. Now, you wake up, unlock your phone, and 30 minutes disappear before you even remember who you are. You're not thinking, you're buffering. Your brain is online, but you're not logged in. You try to get back on track, but there's no track, just white noise and guilt layered over fake productivity. You clean the kitchen, you answer emails, you do all the right things, but you feel nothing. It's not because you're lazy or weak. It's because you've become unanchored. You're moving, but not toward anything. You're functioning, but not living. You're present, but not here. And what's terrifying is how easy it is to normalize. You tell yourself you're just tired, that it'll pass. You cling to weekend plans, small wins, random routines, as if they'll save you from the quiet truth eating you alive. You don't know who you are right now. Not really. Because the version of you that used to care, the one who showed up with conviction, with intensity, with even the tiniest fire in their chest, has been gone for a while. And the scariest part? You barely notice them leave. That's the thing about drifting. It doesn't feel like drowning, it feels like numbness with a calendar. And most people never come back from that, not because they can't, but because they wait too long to call it what it is. This isn't a rough patch. It's a breakdown in internal alignment. Your values, your actions, your voice, your goals, they've been moving in different directions for too long. And the longer you stay in that state, the easier it becomes to confuse apathy with peace, avoidance with rest, routine with purpose. But here's the shift. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not lost. You're unanchored. And that's fixable, but not by pushing forward, not yet, because you can't reconnect with your life until you disconnect from everything that's pulling you away from it. And that's where we go next. Before we rebuild direction, we kill the noise. Chapter 2. Kill the noise. Before you find the signal, you keep trying to figure it out, thinking harder, writing longer, scrolling deeper, looking for that one quote, one post, one dopamine hit that's going to fix your fog. But here's the truth. You're not thinking. You're drowning. You've confused activity for clarity, input for insight. And your brain? It's full, but not focused. Every notification, every podcast you didn't finish, every half-written journal entry that goes nowhere. Noise. You're not broken. You're overloaded. And overloaded minds don't find direction. They loop. They spiral. They glitch on the same question. Why can't I feel like myself anymore? Let me be blunt. You cannot recover your clarity in the same environment that killed it. Yet most people try. They scroll for mental peace. They stimulate their way towards stillness. They flood their brain hoping to filter it into focus. That's like screaming for silence. You can't think your way out of this. You have to shut it all down. No journaling, no deep work, no optimized playlist, stillness, full stop, 2 minutes, alone, no inputs. Not because it's relaxing, because it's a reset. Your nervous system has been running on survival mode, and what it needs isn't more stimulation, it needs interruption. That's what silence is, not absence. Interruption of the scroll, of the noise, of the narrative you've been downloading from a world that doesn't care if you disappear inside yourself. When you cut the noise, something happens. Not immediately, but fast. Your internal compass, the one that's been buried under content, shoulds, and 15 open tabs, starts flickering back online. You hear it faintly. Not a sentence, not a plan, just a pull. And for the first time in weeks, maybe months, you remember, I still want something. That moment, that flicker, it's the first real signal. But here's what matters next. Most people feel it, and then go back to noise, back to the feed, back to the loop that broke them. You don't. Not this time. Because once you hear that signal, you don't analyze it. You act on it. And that's where we're going next. Not to understand the signal, to extract it. to ask the one question that breaks the fog open and makes you remember who you were before the numbness took over. Chapter 3. The question that wrecks your fog. So now there's silence, and in that silence, something returns. Not confidence, not clarity, just a signal. Faint, uncomfortable, unavoidable. And then one question rises up, one that feels like a punch to the chest. If I disappeared tomorrow, what would I regret not starting? Read it again. Let it hit. Not, what would I miss? Not, what would people say about me? Number, what would you feel in your bones as unfinished? That's the real you talking. That's not a productivity prompt. That's your unfinished business knocking. And most people dodge this question because it hurts. It pulls back the curtain on all the things you've been rehearsing, delaying, and numbing. But here's the hard truth. You don't feel lost because you don't have goals. You feel lost because you've abandoned something that mattered, and you know it. The signal you heard in silence? This question shines a spotlight on it. That project, that phone call, that boundary you never set, that version of you who didn't flinch, the one you buried under later, not ready, and everyone else's expectations. You don't need a 5-year plan. You don't need vision. You need coordinates. And this question gives them to you. But let me be brutally clear. Knowing what matters means nothing if you don't move. That's where people collapse. They get the flicker and wait. Think, plan. Convince themselves they'll act when it's the right time. And in doing so, they kill it. So here's what happens now. You move. Not perfectly, not confidently, just first. Chapter 4. Move first. Think later. Here's what most people don't understand. You don't think your way into clarity. You move your way into it. Every instinct you have when you feel lost will tell you to pause, to wait until you're certain, to gather more insight, to be ready. That instinct is lying, because what you're waiting for, motivation, confidence, clarity, only shows up after you move. Think of it like this. Your brain is locked in a loop. Fight, flight, or freeze. And no amount of overthinking breaks that loop. Only motion does. When you move, even slightly, your nervous system gets the signal, we're not stuck anymore. It doesn't need to be grand. You don't need to start a business today or book a flight or write a manifesto. You just need to disrupt the stillness that's been sedating your soul. Stand up. Go outside. Run cold water over your hands. Write one sentence. Say one scary thing. Close one open loop. Because the moment your body moves, your identity begins to shift. Not because you're pretending, because you're proving. The version of me that drifts doesn't run this show anymore. And that's when it gets real. That's when direction starts to return. Not all at once, but enough to matter. But don't celebrate yet. Because even now, with motion in your limbs and fire in your chest, there's one thing that will drag you back into the fog. The lie. The quiet, invisible belief you've been carrying that makes all your progress feel temporary. And unless you name it, cut it, it will win. That's where we go next. Chapter 5. The lie that keeps you lost. Now that you've moved, now that something in you is sparking again, there's one more layer to burn through. The lie? Because let's be real, this drift you've been stuck in, it's not just from fatigue. It's not just from distraction. It's been reinforced by a belief so subtle you've stopped hearing it. It's the belief that says, maybe I'm not supposed to change. Maybe this is just who I am now. Maybe I missed my window. It shows up as softness. It speaks in your voice. It pretends to protect you. But make no mistake, that belief is a cage. And it's so familiar, so convincing, you've probably defended it in casual conversation, laughed it off, turned it into self-deprecating humor. I'm just not that disciplined. I always overthink. I've never been good at follow-through. But deep down, you hate that version of you. Not because they're weak, but because they're not the whole truth. So here's your moment. Grab your phone, open your notes app. Write this. I'm done pretending that. Fill in that blank. Fill it with the belief that's been keeping you in emotional purgatory. The identity myth that feels safe, but is suffocating your momentum. Examples? I'm done pretending that my comfort matters more than my potential. I'm done pretending that I don't know what I want. I'm done pretending that I need to feel ready to begin. Because once you name the lie, you take away its power. But here's the kicker. Naming it isn't enough. You have a window, a moment where everything inside you says, do something. Right now? And if you don't, the fog comes back. Stronger, thicker, more convincing, and the lie reattaches itself, like it never left. Which brings us to the most critical 90 seconds of this entire reset. Chapter 6. The 90-second window. Here's the truth. Breakthroughs die fast. Not because they weren't real, not because they didn't matter, but because people waited. They felt the shift. They knew the next move. And then they paused to think it through, to wait for the right moment, to do it properly. And in that pause, the momentum flatlined. You've seen this happen. You've cried during a video and then scrolled for an hour. You've felt clarity hit and then opened another tab. You've whispered, this is it, and then did nothing. That hesitation? It's the kill switch. It's how the old identity wins. Because the brain is efficient. If you don't act within 90 seconds, it assumes the moment wasn't serious, and it erases it. So here you are, after the silence, after the signal, after the movement, after the lie. You're in the window, and you have two options. 1. Act, and step into a version of you that you actually respect. 2. Wait, and let the old version close the door again. So move. Now don't just feel this, seal it. With something irreversible. Send the text, say the truth, make the call, block the trigger, write the sentence, delete the app, burn the bridge. One action. No negotiation, no perfection, just proof that you meant what you felt. Because identity isn't what you think. It's not what you say in the moment of clarity. It's what you do in the seconds right after. So whatever woke up in you during this video, protect it. This is your shot to not disappear again. Take it. If something inside you stirred during this video, good. It means you're not gone, not completely. But clarity fades fast. Momentum dies quietly. And without hard truth, you'll drift again. You don't need more motivation. You need to see the lies you've been living with clearly, brutally, without flinching. That's what comes next. I made a video called 10 Hard Truths of Life I Wish I Knew Sooner. It's not comforting, but it's what finally broke the loop for me. And it will for you too. So if this was your reset, that one is your wake-up call. Watch it now. While you still feel this,